to a large extent, they don't feel it. I think in every crisis, there are opportunities. In Mr. Trump's disrupting the US government, which is good for them, he's protecting his country, he's slapping other countries with tariffs and so on.
Order, Mr. Chair.
What's the order there? I think it's important. What's the order?
Why you Senator Cornyn, listen to my point of order. I think Senator Cornyn use of certain words repeatedly of disruption. And my point of order is that there should be much more different word used other than disruption.
I said Mr. Trump.
I said disruption.
Disruption?
Yeah. No, that's the issue. I got pieces I don't use. Don't tell me that my point of order was valid.
Well,
the word disruption does not sit well with me about a foreign president.
Thank you,
Mr. Raise a point of order.
Thank you.
There's a disruption or a different policy.
No argument about this. You made an order, and the order is overruled. The gentleman from Babolo is free to continue.
You know, sometimes we have disruptive businesses like Tesla, like the same thing that we have in Liberia now, Mr. Elon Musk company. How you call it? Starlink is disruptive because it gives last mile connectivity to villages and so on if you can use it well. So it's not a bad word, Mr. Senator. So Mr. Trump is disrupting the way the American governance system works for the benefit of his country. And those of us who have relied on the United States support for centuries since our independence, Madam Minister, we need to start thinking about what to do over the next 4 years. It's important. I just wanted to say that. So in that light, I want to ask you, what is our relationship with China? We also heard about re-establishing relationship with Russia. How is that going?
So, Mr. Senator, thank you for the question. Has been further clarified as being a question. The response to that is it is work in progress in terms of redefining our foreign policy direction. We are redefining that now. Our relationship with China has upgraded our relationship to a strategic partner over the last months. And this means it provides more opportunities for us to engage deeper in relation to funding. The United States of America is a traditional ally of Liberia, and we cannot forget that. The United States of America has had long-reaching relationship with Liberia. How we define that relationship going forward should be based on how we see the benefit to the Liberian people, but not forgetting the fact that they are a traditional ally. We know for right now, a lot of the relationships are about transactions. We know that a lot of the issues are about business and so forth and commerce. And we had a discussion with the State Department when I was there recently with Minister Cornyn. And we shared with them that we want to have the Liberia-US dialogue. It has to have a political aspect, it has to have an economic aspect. And what we discussed is that the State Department and the Assistant Minister, sorry, not Senator, Assistant Minister Christiana Cornyn, she was part of the delegation. But what we discussed is that we need to have that dialogue. It needs to be a frank dialogue. State Department will come to Liberia, and we talked about it being in July, where they'll have more clarity on their side in terms of where they stand with aid and all of that. And in that dialogue here in Liberia, we'll also be having a Bridge to Prosperity program in terms of economic diplomacy. We're looking at an investment roundtable with some US companies at the same time. So they're looking at what makes them prosperous, what makes them stronger and safer. We're looking at how we develop Liberia. We find the common ground within that, and we engage around that. But I cannot sit here today, not being the chief architect of foreign policy, to say that this specifically is how the relationship will be shaped. I cannot do that, but it's work in progress.
I asked the question about Russia, and I want to go on record. For those who who are following the Ukrainian and the Russian negotiation to end their conflict, we all know the line of the United States. We appreciate the United States traditional partnership with us. We appreciate that. But I just want to emphasize again that as an independent country, there are opportunities in these dynamics where we see that the U.S. president wants peace in Ukraine, but the Ukrainians are pushing back because there's no security guarantee that Russia will not do what they have done to them. And we see some flexibility on the U.S. side on that. So being supporters of Ukraine in this war, I think our country needs to be open to that as well. We should not limit ourselves in this new President Trump's war order. I said President, Mr. Senator. President Trump's war order, that Liberia does not become a victim of an invincible geopolitics. I really think that your foreign policy, new direction, should think about that. Which brings me to your economic diplomacy. And when you appear before us here for your confirmation, you talk about this, we were all happy about this. We know that one of your predecessors, Minister King Akelari, she had development diplomacy. To me, that was a big success. I had the privilege of serving with her in a cabinet. I think this economic diplomacy is a good thing, but it's even now the right thing to push because of what is happening. I mean, you're talking about more than $100 million that we're going to be losing. It's good to be honest with the Liberian people. This USAID thing is going to disrupt healthcare delivery in our country, is going to disrupt education services in our country, and so on and so forth. Even elections, if we don't pivot right now and begin to think outside of the box and create and be innovative in terms of raising money to support these programs. So can you bring us up to speed? What have you done to date on this new economic diplomacy front that we can look to over the next 3-4 years, that Liberia would benefit from it? It would help to fill some of the gaps that the USAID action would be causing us.
Thank you, Senator. On the first point in relation to the question on Russia, if you can recall, there was some frenzy around Russia some months back last year when we participated in the Russia-Africa meeting with the participation of Minister Nyeng. And we went to that meeting as part of the African bloc because we felt very strongly, especially if we're vying to be a member of the Security Council, we should be engaging with everybody. Liberia should have a relationship with all member states of the United Nations. To some degree, we will define what the relationship needs to be, but we should be talking to everybody. We went just to participate in that meeting with the African bloc in Russia, and it caused a whole frenzy. People were lambasting us for turning to Russia just because we went to participate in the African meeting. So I share this to say that the mindset in relation to bilateral relations and where the world is now in 2025, where we are right now, especially with the evolving multipolarity of the geopolitics. We like Liberians as a whole, we need to open our minds, similar to what you are saying, we need to open our minds to the vast world. Now, I link that to economic diplomacy. For us, economic diplomacy is opening that doorway and being more intentional about engaging foreign direct investment and handing them over to NIC and the relevant ministries and so forth to do their part. And what we've been doing, for example, intentionally, every country we go to, even if it's for UNSC campaigning, we engage Chamber of Commerce or the Business Association and say, Liberia is open for business. Concretely, I can tell you in the last 2 months, We've received at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs companies that were engaged last year who've come to engage with NIC and others now, or the sectoral ministry. Just today before coming here, I received a team from Burkina Faso. Within 1 month, the team from Burkina Faso is here. They're interested in the bank. They're interested in other areas of investment. We're looking south-south because at the end of the day, we've always been looking to the West. And right on this continent, Africans are investing in Africa. And so we're being more intentional about it. In fact, I'm doing a memo to Chamber of Commerce, NIC, and Business Association today to inform them that we met the Malian head of the Business Association, who has interests, including in Farmington and other tourism and so forth. So this is actively happening. We are receiving delegations and handing them over to where they're supposed to go. It's too early to say what we have concretely materialized from that, but the engagement will continue, informing people that Liberia is open for business. We want to have investors from the continent. That's what's happening in Rwanda. You see now Rwanda, all Africans can go visa-free because of that push for African investments. Africans have resources and can invest in this country and create jobs. We're also engaging with others as well. But economic diplomacy is important for development. And if we don't join forces with NIC, Commerce, Trade, and Commerce and Business Association and others to attract companies to Liberia, we'll find it difficult. Right now in Ghana, the Ghanaian ambassador, our ambassador to Ghana is planning a investment roundtable there, inviting NIC and others to come and meet with businesses in Ghana that have Ghana thriving, encouraging them to come to Liberia. Also with Sierra Leone, we discussed implementing one common market. Talking to businesses, when you come into Liberia and Sierra Leone. So you're looking at the economies of scale for these countries. MRU is 60 million people. If we're looking at MRU as a block and talking to investors, that's what we're doing now. We're saying, come to Liberia as an entry point to Guinea, Cote d'Ivoire, and Sierra Leone. So economic diplomacy is about us being intentional about supporting the efforts of the other ministries and sectors in getting investments to Liberia. And we look forward to all of you support in doing that. The more we can do this and investors come to the country and they are treated well, they don't experience extortion, they don't experience all kinds of things that will make them run from the country. The more we can create an enabling environment for businesses to thrive, the better it will be for our people to create jobs, and that's the role we're trying to play.
In your opening, you told us that the embassies were experiencing capacity issues, particularly the U.S. If I can paraphrase what you said, I talked to you about the depth of capacity at our embassy in Washington. Besides the U.S., we have other key embassies around the world, in Europe, in Asia, and so on. What are you doing to address this problem? And do you see a future for Liberia in Latin America? And then finally, tell us about the MRU, because it's a big part of your regional diplomacy. And we'd like to know how you are working with your counterparts to resuscitate that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator. On the issue of Latin America, the discussions we've been having, especially in the wake of the Security Council campaign we've been doing, we realized that we have not tapped into the potential in Latin America, which we intend to do, starting with Brazil. But there are many other Latin American countries that we need to be engaging with. Also, even the Pacific, the islands and so forth, you'd be amazed on what we've been missing out, for example, with Barbados. We signed an agreement with Barbados now, but Barbados is interested in our sardines. They import all their sardines, and we have some of the best sardines in the world. Now, waters people take it and carry it to other parts of the world. We don't even see it on the shores of Liberia. So we're engaging with these countries with that outlook to strengthen, from economic diplomacy perspective, to strengthen trade and so forth. But in terms of investments, Latin America has huge potential that we have not tapped into, which we intend to tap into. Also, the point you make in relation to Latin America is very important. Also, that beyond economic diplomacy, cultural diplomacy, and other areas that can open up doors for engagement and for job creation. So we will be working on that. And to go to the UN Security Council campaigning process, we have identified some countries in Latin America that we'll visit to engage around the votes. Also, Ambassador Louis Brown will be meeting the entire Latin American bloc in New York as we're all campaigning and trying to strengthen
Do we
those
have a good
relationships.
shot?
I would say that I'm prayerfully optimistic that after 177 years,
Madam Minister,
I'm appropriated.
the finance minister came here and he just in passing top of prayer. He took the whole hearing, pin on top of prayer. Tell her what he doing.
Let me say that we are very optimistic that with the campaigning we're doing, and you will see from the countries we're visiting, for example, we're doing Burkina, Mali, Niger, being very intentional about the African bloc, because Africa feels that many African countries have said they don't trust us, that we'll just follow the US and Israel.
Mali,
And
Burkina, Niger, are they happy with us?
Mali
In the
and
ECOWAS
Burkina.
bloc?
What I can say to you is that Burkina already has companies here today looking at investment, and it has been going very well, I must say. We are trying our best, and we hope that for the first time, being a founding member of the UN, we're the only founding member that has never sat on the Security Council for a full term, never. We hope to correct that during this administration. This is not for President Boyka, it's not for Sarah Bachelet Nyanti, this is for Liberia. As a country void of politics, ethnicity, religion, it's Liberia. And every patriotic Liberian should want Liberia to be on the Security Council, because it will open doors for us economically. What Sierra Leone is experiencing now, with everybody trying to get them money and trying to talk to them because they're on the council and people are interested in voting and so forth. This is what we want for Liberia. We want Liberia to be on that stage of global decision making and relevance to economic opportunities for the country.
Before we go to Senator Patikwa, Madam Minister, with all these things are happening and the government of the United States taking some shot at Liberia, why is your ambassador not approached yet in DC? And what has happened to the investigation of sale of diplomatic passport from the previous government? Where are we with that?
On the issue of Ambassador Conte taking office, we had resource constraint, one. Number two, he had to go to Nigeria to be able to round up there, because he had come to Liberia to serve at LU, and he needed to go back to Nigeria to do the proper diplomatic process for rounding up. He'll be headed to the US as soon as possible. On the previous investigation on passports, I will leave DG Pearson to mention anything, but I believe that some of the discussions we are having, which we said we cannot have openly here, will necessitate close to conversation, but he can go ahead and comment.
So, Senator, as the minister said, we're able to do some background and we got sources. And these sources have been able to give us some information on the trend of the passports. So we don't want to explain that here. But we got sources, and the sources we've been working along with our partners. And then from there, maybe in-house, you'll be.
Mr. Pearson,
Yeah, yes, sir.
it's gone to 4 years. You inherited an issue, you committed doing your hearings for confirmation to further this investigation and bring it to closure and hold people accountable. What's happening?
I don't want to explain in details here. Yes.
Security-
Please.
Is there an ongoing investigation?
It is an ongoing investigation along with our.
How long has it been?
We've been on an investigation for about a month now.
This matter came up about 4 years ago, in 2020,
Yeah,
when you were NSA director. And you say you been only about a month ago?
I don't understand which of the investigation you're talking about.
So which investigation you talking about?
Okay, the investigation I'm talking about is the issue of people selling and buying diplomatic passports.
So under
That's the
the
investigation,
previous
sir.
administration for which a former passport director was sanctioned by the US government,
Oh, okay, all right.
you were NSA director at the time.
Yes, I was.
And the government of
Liberia.
Liberia honored President Weah with Kimanya as Minister of Foreign Affairs, announced the launch of an investigation. During your confirmation hearing under this administration, these issues were raised, and there were commitments to resurrect those issues for closure and for people to be brought to book where applicable. Where are we?
That investigation talking about each reference to one proof. That investigation was completed and filed to court. You ever went to court? That investigation was sent to court.
The sale of passport involving
Yep.
the Ministry of Foreign Affairs alleging with Dewey Gray and Comfort Sawyer.
No, I'm not part of the investigation, but I know the issue of Yemplu, we sent it to court.
So there is no active investigation regarding that issue
Decided
that led to the sanctioning of Wampu.
the issue of Yemplu, that was we had a team that came from the States, and we all worked together, referenced that investigation, and so a report was made, filed to the Minister of Justice, and how Yemplu went to court.
Okay, the Committee on Security and Judiciary will follow up.
Thank you.
Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mine is just only 3 concerns. I will just ask all of them so that you can respond to them. One is, I've heard you indicated about 3 different times the part of business entities coming from Burkina Faso to come to Liberia, and you also mentioned Mali and Niger. Since ECOWAS is an economic community, countries that you've named, businesses coming from there, will it not hamper our relationship with ECOWAS? That's number one. Number two is, let me be direct with the issue of the passport. Many previous speakers really tell with it. But to be specific, as senator, can I use my diplomatic passport as a result of your engagement to go to the United States now? Number two, my last one is, since you are responsible for economic cooperation and countries that are supporting us in our development process, is there any information that you have regarding our relationship with India, for which the Bari Island issue has not been fostered? Is there any information that you got regarding China, for which the overhead bridges that they said were going to start in March cannot start? Is there any information for the project that in Southeast cannot start? What are the process and what are the factors that are hindering these commitments made by these international countries? Thank you.
Thank you. Senator, can I please? Okay. Senator Cyrus, can I please be allowed to make a comment on Senator Cornyn's last question on MRU before I address Senator Batepa's?
Minister.
Okay. On the MRU, Senator Cornyn, very important question. Liberia has played a leading role in MRU's revitalization, and Liberia convened a meeting here for the purpose of revitalization in 2024, and Liberia subsequently has been pushing the strengthening of the MRU. We were able to, in 2024, were able to lead a process for the 4 foreign ministers to sign a roadmap with Morocco, which includes funding for the construction of the Mano River Union Secretariat. That effort has been acknowledged by different MRU countries, where Liberia is leading on the efforts of strengthening the MRU. So just wanted to come back to that, Senator. On the point of ECOWAS and Burkina Faso, Mali, Liberia is one of the countries that was, I think, we were the first to raise the need for dropping the sanctions on those countries, Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, and Guinea. In the plenary at ECOWAS, when this was discussed, we requested that the sanctions be lifted. We also have been doing backdoor diplomacy. We've even offered Liberia as a host, Monrovia as a host city for a meeting of foreign ministers for the AES countries and ECOWAS, also discuss the implications of the withdrawal. I'm happy to announce that the Burkina Faso Captain Traoré was open to this and happy about it. I just met the Malian transitional president. He also was open to it, and he said it's in line with the discussions that we're having. So Liberia is playing a role in terms of trying to engage and make sure, as I said to them, I will say here, beyond organizational structures, we are families. And Liberia has tribes that came from the Malian Empire, mine being one of them, the Vai tribe. We are families within West Africa. So whether you have ECOWAS, you don't have ECOWAS, you still have families, you have countries, you have territories that need to be able to relate. We have over 40,000 Burkinabés in Liberia. So how do we have movements of people? How do you have movements of people outside of the ECOWAS structure? We have to sit and discuss as foreign ministers, and they were all open to this. It's something that we're discussing with ECOWAS actively, how we can engage. So there's no issue with us engaging with Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger as bilateral, in terms of bilateral cooperation, no issues at all. And ECOWAS has made it very clear, even the ECOWAS protocols still apply for the free movement of people amongst the original ECOWAS countries. You can feel free to use your diplomatic passport. But let me say, to ask for visa for the US, but let me clarify something. Diplomatic passport does not necessarily mean that you have a diplomatic visa. Very important distinction. People think that once you have a diplomatic passport, you automatically get a visa because it's a diplomatic passport. No, the purpose of your visit determines the type of visa you're supposed to have and the type of passport you can put the visa in. And what makes this up? So if the purpose for which you go into the country is not diplomatic, they will not give you a diplomatic visa. They will ask you to go for a regular tourist visa. But yes, you can feel free to use it for diplomatic purposes. Also, I've clarified with the US counselor that the legislature, the Senate, the senators and the representatives, you have constituents in the diaspora. And one of the strategies of this administration, the president's vision, his priorities for the AID, is that diasporans will play a critical role. And so the legislature needs to travel to meet constituents in the US, and this should be considered as official because your constituents are in that particular country. We've clarified this with them, and we hope it has helped to improve on the understanding, because when we had this discussion, they said they weren't aware of this, that the constituents need to be engaged. I said diaspora relations is part of one of the strategies. We feel that if diasporans invest in Liberia, will help the development agenda. So I hope this helps also with you all trying to engage as for your travel. On the bilateral cooperation, you talk about China, India, and so forth. I will let Ms. Onion come in relation to that. But I can say that we've engaged with India. India had made some promises before that were never materialized. We have had recent meetings with India to discuss it. There was a 60 million they wanted to give to build a conference center, so forth and so on. Different promises they had made years ago. We've revitalized those discussions with India, and it's ongoing. Go ahead.
That process is also ongoing, Honorable Senator. As you've seen over time, some of the areas have been cleared. So that is now with the Ministry of Public Works to continue the engagement with the contractors and the Chinese embassy. Relations with China has been elevated to a strategic partnership since the last FOCAC, the Forum on China-Africa Relations. And the Chinese they have proposed to Liberia to sign an economic partnership agreement and investment promotion agreement. And these two agreements have been reviewed by our
what was it
agencies.
before the strategic level?
Well, it was just a bilateral and diplomatic relationship. So the elevation to a strategic partnership gives you access to so many other opportunities, and you could sign economic partnership agreement, investment promotion agreement, which elevate the relationship between your sectoral agencies and Chinese sectoral agencies. Then with other countries, we just met our strategy in buttressing the Minister's Economic Diplomacy Initiative. We've been meeting some embassies here asking about opening of new frontiers in our relations. From in addition to our diplomatic relations, we should have more engagements on the economic front. So over the last 3 weeks, we've had meetings with the Egyptian, the Indians, and the British, mainly on investment promotion between Liberia and Moroccans invited us. In January, we took an entire economic delegation to Morocco, where we met strategic stakeholders. There were private sector. Our Chamber of Commerce was in that delegation. We met stakeholders, we met factories in agro processing, we met oil producers, and then other traders. So that relationship is quite ongoing. And then a Moroccan delegation or business delegation from Morocco is expected to come here on speculation in April. And then they will be visiting the agricultural sector, the mining, and the oil producing sector, LPRC, LEC, NOCAL, the agro-industrial processing companies, the smaller ones that we have, and also producers of perhaps agricultural products to export to the Moroccan market. That discussion is quite advanced. So when they come, we expect them to sign a partnership with companies, not necessarily with the government. And then the Egyptian, we've also started the discussion with the Egyptian to invite an Egyptian trade delegation to Liberia. They have initially invited us to Egypt, but because of the position of our mission, that mission is severely understaffed at the moment. So we've told them to wait until the ambassador can be appointed and support staff. So we are expecting that mission to become to come to Liberia and visit strategic sectors and explore opportunities. There is also the discussion with India on establishing a diplomatic presence for Liberia in India, which will also facilitate or accelerate our economic engagement with the Indians.
Just to add also, in terms of the request for diplomatic missions, we're asking the countries as part of the bilateral cooperation to give us a chance to give us a residence for ambassador and a vehicle at least for 3 years until we can, take responsibility. So that's part of the bilateral request that we've made to these countries, and we're hoping that they will honor it. And lastly, I just want to add, Senator Kone, on economic diplomacy, I didn't mention this. A very big investment meeting is being planned in Brussels by our embassy there. It's been delayed because of the need to get the ambassador there first before we have it. But we've also we had discussions with the EU about this. And now initially it was for Benelux, just, Belgium, and Netherlands and Luxembourg. But now before the entire EU, looking at having European companies coming to Brussels to engage with Liberia, to invite them.
This is good because I think Europe has overtaken the US and China as Liberia's most trading partner. Most of our exports today are going there. I think the World Bank recent report showed that. So I think this is really good in your economic diplomacy.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So we hope to have it. We hope to have it in sometime between April and July. The team is working on it, waiting for the ambassador to arrive. The concept paper has been done. When I was in Brussels, I engaged with the EU on it. They were excited.
You invite the Foreign Affairs Committee there and the Commerce Committee.
Yes, we'll definitely look to make those invitations, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Prime Minister, to you and your team. So I'll be engaging you on a series of issues. Prime Minister, what's the budget for your Security Council bid?
The budget that's required for us at a minimum,
Now what is required? What's your budget? What are you operating in?
$200,000
That's the budget you're operating in?
right now, yes.
And you expect to succeed? Now I understand why you say you have to pray.
So, Senator, we are applying many strategies. We didn't feel that the lack of resources should stop us from pursuing what's best for Liberia. And so what we've done is, for example, you will see us with campaign materials and so forth. We were able to get campaign materials by support of in-kind support from some countries. We also are having a intentional fundraiser being led by the president to look at support for the Security Council seat. The discussion that we had, and there was a national committee set up by the president. The discussion was held there, and the discussion was that the recommendation was that there should be a recast of the budget to look at the needs for the Security Council seat and just have a recast in the budget. That was prior to the USAID situation. And so, Senator, what I can assure you is that we are working diligently. We are using opportunities of other travels and other meetings and so forth to link the Security Council meeting to it. We have written to all of the countries. We are using all mechanisms to communicate and to campaign. And Senator, with the support of this legislature, when the budget is being looked at and being recast, the campaign period between now and June is not the major issue. The major issue for us will be to have the capacity to be able to hold the seat, to be able to operate and be able to perform at a high level. And we believe that with your support, with your partnership with the legislature, that we can get the resources that we require to have the staffing in New York, the staffing here at home, and to be able to serve. It's a 3-year period that when we win the elections in June, as of July, the Security Council will be trying to build capacity for our team. They'll be doing it in New York and here. They expect that by October we'll be seated to start observing, to then have the seat fully from January 2026 to December 2027, and another 6 months for the winding down. So it's a huge feat, but the benefits will outweigh, and I believe that we'll get the support, resources made available. Liberia will stand to benefit in every way.
Prime Minister, I saw your visit, I followed your visit to Burkina Faso. Do you care to tell this committee about the composition of your delegation to Burkina Faso?
My delegation to Burkina Faso literally was only me initially, but because we had the president's special envoy on investment and special envoy on tourism who were already in the area, I asked them to join me, but my delegation was only me in the security because of the resource constraint.
So those 2 envoys you took to Burkina Faso are some of the issues we're having with our passports. We need to talk to the 2 of them. They go in aircraft, they put a champagne by them, they take their red diplomatic passport, put it there, cross their leg to show the world that they have diplomatic passport. So you need to talk to them. And when you have these people on your delegation, it doesn't show well for Liberia, because the representation of our foreign image have not been good. No diplomat or ministry or official of government should go sit on the aircraft, hold your champagne glass, then you put our diplomatic passport, then you take picture, and you put it on Facebook to show that you have diplomatic passport and you're official of government. And these are the people you chose to take the Burkina Faso to lobby for a Security Council seat. So I don't know how serious you are for that.
Point of clarification, Senator. I didn't take them to Burkina Faso,
But they were on your
and I
delegation.
didn't take them to lobby for Security Council seat. And the only reason why they were in that presidency was because of the fact that they were meeting companies there. And I wanted Captain Traore, because of the nature of the kind of governance you have in Burkina Faso, I wanted him to be aware.
Prime Minister, when
of
you went to see the
the
president of
conversation.
Burkina Faso to lobby for a Security Council seat, they were with you to see the president of Burkina Faso.
No, they were not with me when I lobbied for the Security Council seat. It was a one-on-one meeting with me and Captain Traore. Only me. I was the only one on the delegation to go and meeting for the Security Council seat.
So they never met the president of Burkina Faso with
They
you.
met him, but the meeting I had with him was alone on the Security Council.
Okay. Prime Minister, we'll talk about the ECOWAS institution. And I honestly want you to be a little bit aggressive about it. You have good network in the region. And as you know, both Nigeria and Cote d'Ivoire are lobbying for WAHO, the West African Health Organization, which obviously could put Liberia on the second layer or in the second layer, taking into consideration our contribution with community levy and our size of government. But we stand a great chance of getting the youth and sports if we were to lobby for it. But equally so, the president of the ECOWAS Commission comes from Gambia and also will be lobbying for that ECOWAS institution to be hosted in the Gambia.
Why is it Sarah Prescott?
Is she your boss?
Yes,
Have you attended the Foreign Service Institute?
I'm attending now.
I will encourage you to do better so you will learn how to respect the minister. Information coming from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs as regards your behavior and conduct to the minister does not reflect well on the assistant minister. I will publicly encourage you to take note of that. Thank you. No. Prime Minister, you talked about the Directorate of Passport and Intelligence. Is there a new nomenclature or is existing?
So in the past, we have had the Bureau of Passport and Visa, and then working with legal, the Minister for Legal. And then you had visa move on the protocol, and it was kind of scattered. And because of the security nature of passports, we felt we got a new department that would encompass passports, visas, and intelligence to back up the issuance of passports and visas like it's done in other countries. And so with that, a new department was created. Governance Commission has given the approval for the department. The approval came without the notification of diplomatic intelligence. We're going back to ask them to add that, but it's been approved as a new department headed by the Director General at the level of Deputy President. Under that is the Director of Transport, Director of Visa, and Director of Diplomatic.
Have you informed the Foreign Relations Committee that you work with that there's a new department, a new nomenclature for the purpose of coordination, such as strategic position or sensitive change?
I had at some point discussed with the chairman that this was work in progress and so forth. We got the approval last week. We are now officially informed you. We'll write officially informed.
Another issue, Madam Minister, regarding passport. A company called Blackwell has a contract with the Salif government for passport owned by Hassan Musawi. The contract, after they procured the passports brought into the country, the contract was terminated. And you brought in Bob Press owned by Kofi Buckman. Today, you are talking about canceling that contract again. And I'm sure it will be the company Austria. But when the time comes, we'll find out which company will be that. You think this brings credibility to our passport? And sign contract with one company, executing it, you cancel it. You go to another company, executing it, you cancel it. Now you're already in discussion with Austria. They will win a bid, we all know that one. Then they will start issuing passport again. How does that bring credibility to our passport?
Senator, to be very honest with you and be transparent with you, it's the first time hearing about this Blackwell contract that was terminated under Madam Salif. I'm not aware of this. We met Bob Press implementing a contract that they do not implement by themselves. They are part of an arrangement with others, and from the security perspective, we do not own the source code. As a country, we do not own the source code. So from the security perspective, we all should be concerned that regardless of whether or not there was a backward before, send out a few things to look at the fact that as a country, we don't have anybody can use that system and issue passports from anywhere in Liberia's name. So it's in our interest to look at a system where we have more control and where we can at least strengthen the security aspect of passport issuance. WordPress can also apply if they have the capacity to produce what we want to produce. But we're looking now at WordPress has too many linkages. They have the source code, we don't have the source code. They have another company that does the work with them as well. It's not the best for security enhancement. And I think we should all work together to strengthen this. We've had a discussion with WordPress. I must admit, I think DG will admit also they've been trying to work along with us to strengthen, but there's so much more that needs to happen.
Mr. Chairman, not to go back too much, but I still have one more question. The ministry explanation on the Japanese rice wasn't quite satisfying. And said a local did a follow-up on it, where a company we left for 1250 or 12 something, other one for 11. Then the military reached a decision. So I don't know what the need of the procurement process, we had to reach all of those decisions. Mr. Chairman, I'll be recommending that since the red having come, maybe it's better to do retender. Because when we listen to the person in charge of the rights on OKFM, I don't know if you listened to that recording, it was damaging. It was very damaging for the country. And in all of our diversity, our diverse views, be it opposition, be it ruling party, when it comes to the national security interest or the development agenda of this country, which is speaking one to, and the presentation on the radio, airway of the administration of the rights was very damaging. If you haven't listened to it, I will encourage you to listen to it. And if there's anything we can do to have credibility in it, because it was clear, and I don't want to be personal, but like the deputy minister said, the Liberian-owned company didn't have warehouse. The next one they got warehouse. He withdrew his interest from the company. And I strongly believe that there should be a policy around the Japanese rights for those kind of donations to Liberia that should be related to Liberian companies. Not to say it must be sold, this says must be given to anybody. Then we. I mean, this is something that Liberians should be given that other companies do it. You look up for the national, but we can't say everybody can do it, everybody can sell it, everybody can change it, everybody can do it. I think you must have a set policy. But when you spoke, you had one set of policy. When your deputy spoke, you had another set of policy. So I think we need to look at that.
Thank you, Senator. Just to clarify a few points, there's only one policy document that guides the implementation of that program. Is the management guidelines that was developed back under the Senate administration. There's only one set of documents. That's one. The second point is the reason why we ask the secretary to open up the bill is because we wanted Liberian companies to apply. Because those that have been benefiting money over the years have been registered by Commerce as foreign companies. We wanted Liberian companies to apply. The third point here is